All right, thanks everybody for being here. Tonight I'm going to talk about bonds. This is put on by Stark Financial Group, which is the entity I created to help educate people, friends, and family on how to get more free. Um, so tonight's subject is bonds. Um, Bonds 101 is what I'm calling it, and this is bonds are literally your power to create money. Um, so the first question, that most people get into is, what is a bond? I mean, we hear like, when we're younger or when we're, out buying, insurance and stuff like that, we hear it all the time, and we just kind of use the term, for me, I know it was like I knew what I was talking about, but I until I got into this, I had no idea what a bond was. So, the first thing to talk about is that a bond is a contract. It's generally a contract between three people. And this goes back why these are so powerful, because it goes back to Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution. Let no state interfere with an individual's right to common law contract. So, bond is a common law contract, and it's the most powerful thing. The right to contract is your highest right that you have, that you can exercise. So essentially, it's a bond. It's a bond between three people. Generally, for what we're doing, it's a bond between your straw man. It's between you, the live person, and the treasury. Um, the first thing is just a regular definition of a bond is a fixed income instrument that represents a loan made by an investor to a borrower, typically a corporate or governmental. Um, Remember that our straw man is a corporation. So literally every bond that we create is a corporate bond. So I'm going to start off with GSA bonds. It's kind of the most elusive part of this. Gene Keating and several other of the gurus talked about it. It is a very good tool to deal with court cases. They used to say get out of court, but it's not really a tool to get out of court. It's a tool to pay, because all courts are a claim for money. Every single one. I don't care what you've been charged with. I don't care if it's a bankruptcy. I don't care if it's they're all they're all about the debt that is owed. And when you end up in jail, it's because they have assessed a debt on you that you can't pay, and they're not going to extend you credit. And so you have to go to jail to pay for that debt. So the GSA bond tool, it's the same tool that courts use, and they're using your name to create bonds. So the idea is that you are creating the bonds in your own name, and what I've been doing is blanket bonding court cases, and it just puts you in a different position on that. So you send them to the GSA. It's all sent in private. It creates a payment for courts. It can also be used to discharge mortgages or car loans and stuff. This is a very time-consuming process. It is not what you want to do to discharge debt. Okay. It is it's very time consuming, and it takes weeks just to get them to the GSA, and then you got to send stuff to the court and so on. I do offer this service, and it's it's something that for some people can be utilized. Got government bonds, which is what I was just talking about, a debt security issued by a government to support a government spending and obligations. Basically, that's what you're doing in a court case, is that it's a debt security that's issued by the government to support something. So this here was the first one I did. This one was a bond for investment. Not really that double top secret. I put all my bonds on the record. So as soon as I create a bond, then I file it with Pima County with the whole package so that it's on the record. And then I take that bond that's on the record and then I send it to the Treasury. This particular one here was for 100 million for investment, and it is good till let me see if I can find it. I think it's 30 years. I don't really remember. I did this one like a year ago. And then you use this bond for investment on your UCC one. Um, and yeah, it creates money. It stays with the Treasury. And it's between the straw man, the human, and the Treasury. This was the second one that I did. This was an indemnity and a set off. So it's actually two separate bonds. This one I did for 500 million. The um there are some people out there doing them for 500 billion. It's kind of overkill. Even 500 million is overkill. I mean, literally creating a $5 million bond for investment or for set off would be probably more than enough. But this is so this one here, you create the set off bond, which is a single page, and then you create the indemnity, which you have to have two close friends sign it with you, and so that they can indemnify, the debts so that, that they're all paid. This creates money to set off debts. It's backed up with an indemnity, and it needs two sureties. It's a little bit more complicated bond, but then it ties to all your UCC ones. You can see at the top, registered Wisconsin UCC file. And then it addresses all my UCC numbers. And then again, these ones are non-negotiable, which means that, once you create this, it's not like a dollar bill. A dollar bill is a negotiable bond. Okay. Any form of money, cash are debt instruments, and they're negotiable bonds. These are non-negotiable. So basically you create the bond, you send it to wherever, and it creates money, and it's just that contract between those people. Corporate bonds, that's what we're talking about in those. It's a debt security that is issued by a company to raise capital. So it's basically your straw man is giving the surety to you to create this debt instrument to create money with the Treasury so that it can be used for set off. This one here is another form of bond. This is a private registered promissory note. These are negotiable. So essentially, if you had a bank that would actually work with you, you could create one of these and go to the bank and get money for it. I haven't heard, there's talking about like with bills of exchange and stuff like that, that they used to do this. It doesn't happen anymore. I don't know too many banks that you can take a promissory note or a bill of exchange or both in there and get money. This is a bill of exchange. These ones that I'm showing you are just kind of fancy ones. Essentially, you don't have to do all this fancy border and stuff. Like you can just write it on a single piece of paper. You could handwrite it, whatever. This one here's a bill of exchange with a voucher. And this is where what you would use to exchange from, the private to the public. It goes with the bond, and it has instructions for the Treasury on, what's supposed to be done with it, and so on. So these are the templates. They can either be found on the internet, or if you ask me for them, I can supply some of this stuff. And that's basically the quick once through it. I'm going to show you guys some other ones so that you can kind of see like how this works with when you put them on the record. I'm going to show you what I did. Second. I'll just go to my 500 million one. So I'm not necessarily saying that this is like exactly how you have to do it, but this is how I did it on this one. So here's got your docket numbers and everything. I put everything on the record at Pima County, Arizona. They're real easy to deal with, and they charge $30 for every package. You know, this one was 102 pages. So I always put a cover sheet on so that whoever's looking at this knows what it, you know, what's enclosed. Um, and then this here is your hold harmless indemnity agreement. Um, then your security agreement. And you don't have to do this every time. Like once you get your security agreement and all that crap on the record, you can just put bonds on the record. You don't have to like do all this other crap every time. Um, so there's that. The Schedule A, notice of lien, common law copyright. Um, this is what a typical bill of exchange looks like. It's just a one or a two-page document, and it just gives the Treasury instructions. And you know, it's talking about the chargeback encloses 500 million for set off. And so that's a bill of exchange. This is the letter to the Treasury that I sent with this particular bond. This is the bond. This is the set off bond, which is one page. And then here's the indemnity. So that's one, two, three, four, five. This was like one of the early bonds that I did. And so because this was an earlier bond, I didn't really know a lot. You don't have to do like 5 pages of crap. Like I can honestly tell you that my newer stuff is just one page. And I don't do this fancy borders and stuff. I did the fancy borders in the beginning because I thought it was cool, but now it's just not necessary. So I don't waste time and energy on things like that all the time. I did on the silver bond because it was just something cool. Tax exempt status. Um, and then this is your claim of foreign status. Um, status of secured party and creditor. Um, absolute forgiveness of all debts. Um, this is very important. This one here this is your power of attorney. This one, particular one is my financial power of attorney. This one creates me as the attorney in fact. Attorney in fact is a higher authority than a attorney at law. And so this is very important. If you haven't done a power of attorney, make sure you get on that. Um, proof of life. A lot of this stuff isn't necessary. This is the certificate of trust. Um, office of the executor. Peaceful inhabitants. And then my UCCs, UCC and non-UCCs. So that's that one. Let me find another one I wanted to show you guys was This is the driving. This is the one that I did for the driving. So it's got affidavit of travel, $5 million insurance bond. This is something I created. I create my own insurance bonds. I don't buy insurance because when you go to an insurance company, you're going to give them money and then they're going to create an indemnity and then you're going to sign it. So you're still creating the bond, but you're paying the insurance company $300 a month or whatever you're paying them for your own bond when you can create your own bond. So this one here, again, cover sheet, declaration, notice of travel, and then here's the bond, right? It's the same fancy crap because I was into that. This is a negotiable bond, just like a promissory note. Okay, this is payable to the bearer. I have this in the vehicle when I drive. If I ever get in an accident, I just sign it and hand it to whoever I was in the wreck with. And then they can turn it in to the treasury and get paid. They submit a claim to the treasury and they'll get paid. Reservation of rights. And then it's just a bunch of other repetitive stuff in here that I have on the record so that, you know, if I ever get in a situation where it's needed, I can just push them to this. So that's that. I have I have several different things on the record that I use. I probably have five, or I think I have six dockets on the record where I put stuff on there. If you're not like doing that yet, just get in the mode of putting your stuff on the record because you know, it's what puts it on the land, you know. Like you're standing on the land and you want your vessels on the land too, so you got to use a record to do it. So you know, that's how I did it. Um, I'm sure that I kind of, you know, kind of skimmed over, you know, the bonds in general. So you guys go ahead and ask any questions or anything you want to chat about as far as bonds go. And I'll open it to questions now.
Ken,
Yeah.
for the auto bond, does the vehicle have to be paid off?
Well, it's you have to contact your state and the people that have the loan on the vehicle and you just ask them, do you do you accept surety? Do you accept a surety on the, you know, for insurance?
Okay.
I'm in Georgia and Georgia accepts a surety for insurance.
I have a somewhat related question to that. So, in order to do your own private surety bond for your automobile insurance, do you have to have first done your UCC one and done your that bond that I see that you showed earlier that you sent to the treasury, your set off bond?
Yeah. So it's a lot of the stuff that I did in the beginning, you don't have to do, right? It's just that like when I started this, I had no idea what I was doing, and so I just did everything. But we literally have this down to like 4 or 5 documents doing all that. But yeah, the most important thing is the UCC and the non-UCC. So if you have that done, then you can create your your driving bond, your surety. But I would make, you know, the thing that has protected me the most is the banker. So once you got the banker EIN, like you can do all this stuff. And if you are curious about that, just, I mean, Pat talks a lot about it, but just go on and Google individual banker and just read what it says about that because there's a law of equality, which means that you can do anything they can do, and they can do anything you can do. It has to be that way. And so anything a banker can do, you can do for yourself as an individual private bank. That
Hey
includes.
Ken,
Yep, go ahead.
Hey, first I want to say thank you for the invite. And of course, we chat inside the Telegram, you and I.
Yep.
So I was looking at you answered one of my questions because yes, there was a lot of documents. So I'm going to just say you don't have to do all of those documents. Um, so give an example. So we have our UCC one, which is on the record in Colorado. Also, we have our non-UCC. We also have the bond, because that's one of the questions we were having was the bond is at the Treasury. So that was one of the questions that we were kind of tossing around is, okay, hey, if you got this $100 million bond, how do you utilize it, to do the things that you're wanting to do, setting off debt, things of that nature. So you mentioned about your UCC being, I think you said Arizona because theirs was simple and it was inexpensive.
Well, the record, right? So it's basically you're putting it on probate. And so they have a docket that they let anybody put anything on. And it's Pima County, Arizona. There's several counties in Arizona that'll do it. There's one county in Georgia, I'm told, that'll do it, but I've never used it. And been told that there's other counties that'll do it around the country. But I just use
Colorado
Pima.
is one. Yeah, Colorado is one, not to cut you off. That's why we did it in
Yeah.
Colorado because we had such a issue with Texas. We tried it several times with Texans, and so we were part of some other groups, and we were hearing people say, "Hey, Colorado, I did it in New York. New York went through right away." So Colorado was one. That's why we have it on Colorado.
Yeah, I didn't know that. It's good to know.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that's all that is. And then once it's on the record, then you have to take the certified copies that are on the record and you have to send them to the Treasury. That's what makes the bond registered, is that it's
Okay.
on the record. So they can't deny that that bond is registered once it's on the record.
So you're saying we have to send the UCC?
No, that whole package that I showed you,
Okay.
right? It's got the bond, it's got the bill of exchange, it's got the, all that stuff. You have to, once it's on the record, then you have to, I just print it off, right? So I print the certified copies off on my computer. And then I take that whole stack that I print off and I send it to the Treasury with another letter giving them instruction of what I want done with it.
Now
And
we should have that because we have the security agreement, the hold harmless, we have the copyright, common law copyright. So we should have that because there was a package that went to the Treasury in DC. There was a package that went to the Treasury in Puerto Rico, Francisco.
yep, I did
So
that too.
we should have those things. I don't know if it may be something that we need to converse or maybe a consultation offline or something. But we're just trying to get to the place because we're like, okay, we have a number of things that's already sitting at Janet Yellen,
Yep.
Francisco,
Same here.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So
it's like,
so
how
what
do
you
we
do
bring it
is
together to make it sense?
it is when a reasonable amount of time has gone by and you haven't heard back from them that anything's in dishonor, then call them.
Yeah, it's been over 2 years. Ours was done
Yeah,
in
just call them
2023.
and say, do you see my credits?
And who are we calling? Treasury?
The IRS.
IRS.
Yep.
Okay.
And just ask them
Gotcha.
if they see your credits.
Okay.
And then if they don't, then you got to figure something out because, you know, something got misplaced or whatever. And so there's different processes you can take. But don't worry about that until you call and verify that the credits. It takes 90 days. So if you're just getting into this and you're just like sending stuff out, so you'll send it in and yes, like in 2 weeks it should be ready. Like Paul Michael talks about. But like if you call him and if you call before 90 days, they're probably not going to see it. And then so that's what you got to do. And then you just once you call and they say, yeah, I see your credits, for the bonds you created, then you can. So that's a big reason why people don't get remedy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is like, because you haven't like, you can't just like start writing 1099s and thinking you're gonna get remedy. Like you have to like do that, first you got to get free, and then you got to, send a bond. And then once you send your bonds in, then you got to make sure your credits are there. And then once your credits are there, then you got to go through this whole process of learning the 1099 forms. Okay. And don't take what somebody tells you. Don't just start sending shit in like I did because somebody told you that that works. Like you got to read the forms and you have to understand what you're doing, because if they call you and say, hey, we got this 1099 OID for this security, blah, 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 and they were asking you questions about it, and you have no idea because you just sent something in that somebody told you to send in, and you can't talk about it, then like they're just going to be like, whatever, and throw it away. It's just, it's like, it's like becoming not just a free person or a free individual, but becoming a good tax filer, becoming a good person, becoming all these things that, with great risk comes, great responsibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
So once you're becoming a free person and you're going to like handle all your stuff, you got to be responsible, and you got to be, a lot of, there's just a lot of change that goes into this. So, that's what I do. And, I don't do the TDA thing because I tried to get the signatures and I couldn't get the signatures, and so I just like bailed on it. But I'm getting remedy without it. So I don't think like every single thing that people do, I don't think it's necessary. Um, but like some things work for one person and they don't work for another. The main thing that I try and put out is I just try and put out the information in a way that's straight and concise so that you can, have a like direction to go. But you really, at the end of the day, the remedy depends on you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I've seen people do the exact same paperwork and one person get remedy and the other not, you know. So you just
I
gotta
appreciate it.
you just gotta work through it and figure out what works for you.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Hey, Kent.
Hey,
Tom here. How you doing?
good.
Thank you for setting this up. Very informative. I, I've been like basically studying for the last 2 years, maybe a year and a half, and the most I've gotten is really just filing the EINs, and yeah, I'm basically kind of taking it step by step, kind of the way you said.
Right.
I want to understand what I'm doing. My question is a little more broad in scope. It's like I don't know how long you've been operating this way, but in the public, with the use of the private banker or individual banker and the estate EIN, how are you operating in the public, and what have you done? Like, have you gone and signed your EIN for a loan or a mortgage? I doubt you need the loan, but you want to get real
No.
estate or
So the people that that like directed me that way, that's what they do is they use their banker EIN to get loans and credit cards and stuff like that. I haven't really gotten much success with it. I I did just open a no interest bearing account on the foreign grantor
Mhm.
trust. And I didn't have to use the social security number. I used the EINs. Um,
Nice.
so, that worked out.
That's great.
The 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 estate is just, I mean, a lot of people talk about it. It's just a savings account, I mean, for
Hmm.
lack of better terms, it's just
Yeah.
kind of where stuff gets parked, but it's not something you really operate in commerce with. And um, but a lot of this, like if you're creating bonds and using your power to create bonds, that's using the social security number. So like
All right.
you can't, you still have to use it, you can't like throw it away,
I agree. Yeah. The power of attorney, the durable
Yeah.
power of attorney. How early do you suggest we get that in this process? I've been looking at the IRS form for quite some time now. I just haven't really filed it.
Well, I do all the, the regular forms and file them with PIMA. And then after I do that, then I do the IRS forms like power of attorney. And, I went through this in one of the other ones. But there's a whole grocery list of IRS forms that you need to get comfortable with.
I know.
And I'll just kind of rattle them off again. So we all know the 56 and the 56F. 3520A is your foreign trust. 2848 in your W8 Ben. There's also a W8 Ben E for entities. 8832, 2848. And then, so those are the main ones that you have to be concerned with. But that's what I do, is that like I do what I need to do on the record. And then I follow them up with the forms
Yeah.
with the IRS that's adequate to what I'm doing, which is mostly anymore. It's just 1099s and 56 and 56F.
Right. Yeah. It's funny. I got the same binder with the IRS forms in there. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a whole other subject to study. I last question. So the PIMA, that is how you record your documents. That's you said that was cheap or free.
It's 30
Arizona.
bucks. So you can do
That's
like
great.
100 documents. I had one with 102. And that cost 30 bucks.
And you got to file something in your county, basically just saying, hey,
No,
my records are over
Pima
there.
County will file anybody's. Once it's on the docket, everybody can see it.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Gotcha.
like I remember one time I didn't get pulled over. I was dealing with a disgruntled employee and they decided to call the police. And the police asked for my name and my birth date. And then they got there and this kid was just like going off about all kinds of crap that the cop didn't care about. And then he just looked at me and he said, "Mr. Stark, is there anything else you require of me?" And I was like, no, sir. So that, like, when you do this and you do this right and you act right, that's how you're going to be dealt with, is that people are going to use a version of respect, as long as you're not a belligerent asshole.
Right.
But that was all on the record with Pima County. And how did this guy figure all that out if he couldn't see a docket from another state? Once they're on the docket, that's why the UCC, right? When you file a UCC filing and it goes on the docket, it doesn't matter what state you file it in, it's nationwide. From my understanding, the UCC is worldwide, but I don't have any confirmation of that. But yeah, so it doesn't matter. It's like whatever county probate you can get to put your stuff on the record, that's adequate.
Yeah, that's great information. I've heard some problems locally with my county.
Oh
My
yeah,
county clerk.
my county
Yeah.
won't do nothing. I'm trying to do the allodial title on my body in my hometown, and it's just the state of Wisconsin literally wrote a law that says that updates of patents are not lawful. And I'm like, you can't. I mean, that's definitely a Marbury versus Madison issue. You can't anything that contradicts the Constitution, and the Constitution says you have the right to claim your title. Okay, so like they can't write a law that says that you can't use a document to claim your title. So it's just, sometimes you just gotta like cut your losses and like go somewhere else. But my title, my birth certificate is filed in my hometown. So that's where you want to do your allodial title on your body. Now, some people claim you don't need to do that, whatever. I just think it's, a lot of this stuff I do because I think it's cool, right? Silver bonds, allodial titles, stuff like that. A lot of the stuff that I do isn't like 100% necessary, right? Like creating $500 million in bonds isn't necessary, right? Because 10 million, 5 million would probably be more than enough, but some of it's
How
fun. It's a
how
learning
was
experience.
your yeah, no, it definitely is. I feel like you can do it forever. How has your experience been with the standard forms and have you used it or
So I submitted my first SF 30 package to the IRS for an IRS debt, and I haven't heard anything back on it yet. But I have used the GSA for court cases, and I do get response from them. My criminal case hasn't been dismissed yet, um, but the bankruptcy case is, they don't know what to do with it. Like, it's just like, what are they going to do with $100 million GSA bond? They don't know how to. So I don't think it's that they don't know how to deal with that. They don't know how to deal with me because I'm not in the position they want me to be in, you know.
exactly?
So the stuff works. It's just sometimes it takes a little push to
Right,
get.
there's always another human on the other side. So, all right, that's all I got for you. Thank you for this.
No problem. Thanks.
Yeah, Ken, I have another question. You were
Yep.
saying about birth state. Um, so when it comes to the birth state, like my birth state is DC. DC is not a state. It was actually, if you research it, it was Maryland, and I don't know if I use the word confiscated or what. They created DC. Let's just put it that way.
Well,
Okay.
DC is a
Right.
fictional territory. So even though you're on the land in DC, you're in Maryland. But the artificial entity is DC.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean it is. It's Maryland.
Now, I've never used Maryland though when I've dealt with things addressing like native or home state, because I'm in Texas, lived in Texas now 11 years. Um, but I've heard that conversation in different spaces about, using Maryland, but of course my birth certificate has DC, on it, my certificate of live birth, so wanted to kind of get your thought on that.
Well, the certificate of live birth is from the State Department, the title.
Hmm.
So I don't know if you've seen um if you, the difference between a certificate of live birth and a birth certificate.
Yeah, in fact, DC don't give out the birth certificates now. They give out the certificate of live birth because that's what I have.
But I don't know if you can see this. This is the first one I
Hmm.
ever had. I found it in my dad's stuff when he died, and it's got a raised seal on it, and it's really small, and you can hardly read. It's all handwritten, and I'm trying to see the date on it. It was like 1980 or some shit. It doesn't even have my number on it yet,
Mm.
right? It's just got the state number. It doesn't have all the rest of the crap. And the same thing here, which is basically when you used to go get a birth certificate in Wisconsin, they just take a photocopy of this and put it on bond paper.
Okay.
Okay. But here, this is the one that I got from the state. This is the one that the State Department sends your state. It's actually on bond paper. This one's the certified. This is the authenticated one. And then this is I don't know if you guys have done this. This is an affidavit of ownership of securities. So I did an affidavit of ownership of the birth certificate. That way, when I go into court, if they try and say that I'm not the beneficial title holder, I have a filed document that I'm the beneficial title holder, and then I'm actually holding the title, a perfected title in my hand. Right. And so like that's what I did on this, but that's what that is. So that's the difference. You got, you have one that's a State Department and one of them that's the one that was issued from the hospital. And so sometimes after they get the one back from the State Department, they destroy the other one. It's kind of like, when you buy a car and the car is brand new, it gets an MCO, manufactured certificate of origin. And then that gets sent to the state, and then the state shreds it. Okay. And then they give you a certificate of title. And that certificate of title is a color of title. It's not the title, it's a version of the title. Right. And so it's not the proof of ownership. The state had that and they threw it away, or they shredded it. So it's the same thing, like the certificate of live, or the certificate of live birth, the thing that's handwritten out when you're born, is your MCO, right? And then it goes to the State Department, and then they create a bond. And then the bond comes back, and then they put a all caps name and a social security number on it, and that's called a placeholder. And that's where the title sits until you turn 18. And then when you're 18, you're supposed to claim it.
But you never told that.
No. Yeah. I wish somebody would have told me that before I turned 50,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The affidavit of beneficial owner, we have that. It's interesting. We got a major pushback here to try to put it on the county record here in Dallas County. So we decided to go another route, which is to get it published in the paper and then take it and then go.
Or you can send it to Pima County.
Wow.
And they'll put it on the record, and then it's done. That's what I'm gonna
know.
So I'm gonna redact this stuff, and I'm gonna put copies of this on the record in Pima County. And then that's docketed. And they can't.
Didn't know that. We probably can do it with Colorado, because like I said, Colorado seems to be pretty simple.
Anyone, like this thing with Pima County is they don't even tell you what you can and can't. They just say send everything.
Wow.
We'll put it all on the record. The only thing they don't do is they'll like block out social security numbers and things like that. Like they won't put account numbers and social security numbers and crap like that on it. But yeah.
Wow, thank you. That's good to know.
Yeah, that's why we're here. We just kind of share this stuff so that everybody has a chance to, use some of these things that maybe we're stumped on,
Right.
The big thing is reading. I just encourage everybody, all this stuff that I talk about or other people talk about. I'm not a big reader. I hate reading, but just bite the bullet and read this stuff, because it's all in there. They have to put it in writing somewhere. They have to, right? It's like I just found out the other day, all the disbursements that a county makes to lawyers is public record. So you can go to any county and you can look up their disbursements for the court cases, and you can find whatever lawyer's name and how much money they got paid. And that's money that you didn't pay them, right? So they're like making that on the side. That's their commissions for your bonds. And you start
oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Are you
I didn't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you actually sending in the paperwork by mail to Pima County, or is there like an online type? Okay.
Well, you can do it online, but if it's not like the perfect format, they reject it. So I just mail it. I always mail it express.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Thank you.
Or actually priority because it's only like $9. It
Okay.
used to be $7, but now it's like $9 or $10. But yeah.
Gotcha.
And when you filed it in the county in Pima, what division? Or you filed it in the real estate division? Where are you filing?
Well, you just go to the Pima County Recorder, and there's an address on there, and you just mail it to them. And then I always have that cover letter in there, and then I always send a money order.
Mhm.
So they tell when you start reading like the trustee handbook and all that, from Weiss's trustee handbook, he tells you all this information, like that you should use. So postal money orders are backed by gold.
Right.
So, and stamps are backed by gold.
Mhm.
So, like in Weiss's trustee handbook, he tells you to use the non-interest bearing checking account, but then pull the money out when you need to pay a bill and go get a money order. So, because it's a non-interest bearing account, they don't invest it. The money just sits there. And now I got a debit card with mine, because I'm lazy, but um, the money order thing, like I use that a lot now, a lot more than I used to. I do not have checks. I will never write another check. Because you know that
Mhm.
if you don't write closed on it, that they keep it open and keep pulling money out of your trust, right?
Didn't know that.
Yep. I don't use checks.
I
Whatever.
don't use checks, but I did know that though.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Huh.
So the first thing when you get a checking account is they take that FDIC money and they get it from from your trust and they hold it. That's why they push checking accounts so much. Okay. And then after they do that, every time you write a check, they keep the transaction open and they keep bleeding your account. So that's why Weiss's handbook says to get a non-interest bearing account and to just go pull cash out and get money orders. You can get a money order up to $999 at the post office. So
Right.
Kent, you
You
say
posted in
if
the
you
group.
write a check, you're supposed to write closed on it?
well, that's what Pat talks about, that because they're not closed checks, that they can keep them open. It's the same thing when you close a bank
So,
account, they keep it open for 3 years after you close it.
oh. So if you were to write closed after you sign, or would you just not write them at all?
You can just write it at the top, closed check.
Oh, okay.
I would research it.
Thank you.
I'm not doing that. I'm just not writing checks
Gotcha.
because it's a signature and you're signing a negotiable instrument. I mean, they take your signature and they create millions of dollars in loans and crap at a bank. What's to stop them when you sign a check?
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
don't.
you posted in the group. You had posted in the group about you opening up, I think, a non-interest bearing account. Um, was that at Wells Fargo?
Yeah, I use Wells Fargo.
Do you have in your members area or anywhere about the process you went through to get that open?
Um, it's in the Weiss trustee handbook. That's what I use to do
Okay.
it.
Okay.
But it's just basically, um, once you use a bank that knows what you're talking about, they already know what you're doing. You're getting a non-interest bearing checking account using an EIN. And then you give them the 9/8 EIN and then you open the account. There's several banks that do them. Truist does them. Can't think of the other name. There was another big bank that did them. Anybody that does trust accounts can do them.
Okay.
But because there's no interest, there's no contract.
Right.
So are you literally just telling them that you want to open a non-interest bearing account with an EIN, and it's that simple? Like we don't need
Yeah.
anything else?
Well, you need the certificate of trust.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and you need most of them want like the appointment of trustee, the first page of your trust indenture, the certificate of trust, and then they'll open a non-interest bearing account for that trust.
Gotcha.
Yep. And then once it's funded, like according to the IRS, an unfunded trust is not a trust. So it has to be funded. So once you fund the account, then you actually have a trust.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yep. Now for me, I have two. I have the foreign trust, and then the foreign trust beneficiary is a revocable trust for the family. So I have an irrevocable and a revocable, and they both have non-interest bearing accounts.
Okay. And I just saw someone in the comments say, how is it funded?
Well, you fund it with cash or whatever you're going to put in it, but you got to be careful with that foreign trust. This is one of the things they don't tell you is by taking the control of the money out of the US and putting it in the control of your trust, it's actually money laundering. So you got to be careful. Like for me, that's why I don't put I use the foreign trust to hold my assets, my securities, my silver, things like that. But I don't put a bunch of cash in a bank account. But that's why I have the revocable trust. That's where all the cash goes. Because in an irrevocable trust, it's kind of hairy about whether you can withdraw funds and what you're withdrawing funds for. Because
But it's, oh,
it's
sorry.
irrevocable,
Yeah.
right? So you're supposed to put money in there and leave it in there. A revocable trust, you can move shit around all you want, but a revocable trust doesn't have protection. It's basically an alter ego of the trustee.
So if we used our estate EIN number to open up a non-interest bearing account, would that be fine?
See, I don't, I don't know about that. I haven't done it, and I don't, in my understanding, that's not really the function of the estate. The estate is the extension of the Social Security number. So the reason why you can build an estate, why you can get an EIN is because the Social Security person is dead. And so that's why you can get an estate. That's why they don't consider it fraud, because I mean, the person is literally dead. But I don't really think that you would want to use it as a transmitting utility. Like if you want to like park funds in there on the private side and then move it, somewhere else, when you want to utilize it, like, I can see that. But the private banker is a much better tool for that. Using the private banker EIN to, use bond money and stuff like that is a much better tool than the estate. But I mean, research it, do what you want,
Yeah. Okay. And then my last question, could you repeat what you mentioned earlier about the um I guess the bond that you had in your car or that you have in your car so you don't have to have insurance or whatever. Could you explain that again or how it
Well,
works?
you just gotta look it up in your state and see if they allow a surety for your auto. And if they do, then you can create a bond and you can find them anywhere. You can go on Scribd and find a auto bond and you just create mine's 5 million. So you create a $5 million bond. It's a negotiable bond. It's basically a check, and then you just keep it in the vehicle. And if you ever get in an accident, then you just sign it and sign it over to whoever you got in a wreck with or to their insurance company or whatever. And it's the same thing because when you get insurance, you're a surety. Your social security number is the surety for that insurance bond. So it's the same thing. You're just not paying somebody a commission to do it.
Okay.
But you got to be a banker, you know.
Yeah.
Like that's what gives you the power to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, I have a question.
Yep.
Well, two questions. This thing about the SF forms and liquidating the accounts is it's just new to me, but I am just a little bit skeptical about, does it really close the account? Does it liquidate it? What does they do? I mean,
Yeah,
because I've been in so many things that sometimes I just don't
I don't know if
know.
there's any value in liquidating anything. I mean, you have a trust with an unlimited amount of credits. Like you can create as much bonds and as much money as that you want. So why are you trying to like liquidate anything? The only thing that I did is I did a liquidation of one of the bonds to the banker account so that I can use it for a nonprofit, you know, and fund stuff like that. But I'm not trying to like you can't liquidate something that doesn't have a number, you know. There's no limit. It's unlimited credits
Mm.
that is behind it. So that's
Like, so I mean, it doesn't close the account when you do these forms?
well, I don't think so.
Mm.
I don't they need you. They need the borrowing power from your body. So I don't think they're going to close the account,
Mm,
you know.
okay.
I haven't met anybody that successfully liquidated anything. So
Okay.
I don't really, you know, the best advice that I can give people is baby steps. You know,
Mm,
it's like we learn that there's something here and then we shoot right for and I'm guilty of it, I'm just sharing with you what I did, is I created the first year I was doing this, I created $1.3 billion in bonds.
mm,
I just blanket bonded everything and now I got a lot of shit to clean up, you know.
mm,
So I just recommend that you don't just blanket bond everything. I mean, if you want to do it, start off with 100 million and figure out that. But like most of the things that you're going to want to do or you're going to need to do, I mean, you could literally bond $1 million a year and have more than enough money to do what you need to do.
mm. Okay, thank you. And my other question is about the MCO. Do they really destroy it? Like
Yeah.
I hear some people that, oh, I got my MCO through here, through there. Is that
Well,
not
you
true
can get
then?
a new MCO, but the one that
Okay.
came with your vehicle when you took it to the county is destroyed. They don't keep it.
Mm. But you can get another one, new one, right?
Yeah, I have a contact that will create an MCO on any vehicle that you own, not one that's financed. It's got to be
Right.
owned
Right.
for
Okay.
$550. And they'll
Okay.
get you an
Mm,
MCO, and then the MCO, all you do is put it in the trust. And then you get
okay.
a DOT number on your trust, on your foreign trust, and then you use that DOT number to create license plates.
Mm, okay. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Ken, I have another question. You keep hitting points that, and I'm grateful that you're doing this. So I got a DOT. I got it under the estate. And then later I started reading more information. I said, wait a minute, I probably should have gotten this under my FGT. I have two foreign grantor trusts.
Yeah, that's what I did is under the foreign grantor trust.
So then I can go back through that same process and just use the foreign grantor trust EIN.
Yeah, you can
rather
just
than
throw
this.
the other one away. They don't even care. Just
Okay,
throw the other one away
gotcha.
and get a new one.
Got you. Okay,
Yeah.
definitely will.
Same thing with EINs. If you misspell something, sometimes it's not worth the trouble to like get it changed. You just throw it away and get another EIN. They tell me that you're supposed to send a letter and tell them you're not using it so that they can destroy it, but
I have quite a few EINs that I'm not using.
yeah, I know.
So
I have,
I've not sent a letter.
I think I have 10 of them right now.
I got quite a few of them. But I do have two of the foreign grantor trusts, in which I will be using both of those. Just
Yeah.
had to change the address on one because Canada, which is a Hague, so change the address to Taiwan with the 8822B form.
Yeah. I use Bahamas. I don't
Bahamas,
think
okay.
the Hague thing, I don't even think the Hague thing, as far as trust goes, matters. The only thing I've ever heard with the Hague thing is when you're getting a birth certificate authenticated, is to use a non-Hague country. But as far
I
as
think we used Taiwan for when we got ours done on the federal level. I think we used Taiwan.
yeah, so Taiwan, I used Egypt. Yeah, but as far as the trust goes, like the only thing that matters with a foreign jurisdiction of a trust is it's a country that's not going to let the United States peek at your crap.
Mm.
Like it doesn't matter if they're Hague or non-Hague. What matters is like Mexico is not good because they will let the IRS do whatever they want. And and
Oh, he fell off.
Before Kent comes back, I just wanted to point out with the foreign grantor, if you're changing your address, I just talked to them a couple of days ago, and
Mhm.
because I was trying to make sure I had the correct form to change my address, and they told me that you just need to call in to change your address over the phone with the foreign grantor trust.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't actually
Good to
change
know.
mine, so I didn't get to test out that theory because I was just calling for information, but that is what they told me a couple of days ago.
Yeah, I actually have to do it for my second one. I just looked at that earlier this week, and that one I did was in the Philippines, which the Philippines is also a part of the Hague.
Yeah.
So I'm going to change that one as well. But that's good to know that I can just call it in. That's good.
Yeah.
Ken texted in the group chat and said his computer died.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I
Do
guess,
we wait or leave?
yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll wait a couple of minutes and see if he comes in. Other than that, then, we
Yeah.
can pause the
I have a
call.
question. I have a question about the state EIN. I got my state EIN, but I think I did it wrong. I mean, I hear so many things how to do it. I mean, how to online get it, and it's just like so confusing. Do you choose a state, and then what about the two social securities that they ask? Anybody can help me with that for the
I've
state?
had mine for a while. So yeah, I think that was a recent change that they made. So I really can't speak that. I've had mine for a while. I've got two of them, but I've had mine for a little while.
Mm, okay. Because there's so many ways that out there do this and do that, and it's just nothing like really instructions. Because it's like, no, don't choose this state option. So I'm just all confused. I
Have
don't
you
even know.
seen oh sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I don't know if if I did it wrong. I mean, well, I mean, I don't know what's going on. And I called the IRS and they just don't have any information. I mean, every time I called, no, there's nothing on the record. There's nothing. I'm like, what? But I don't know. Just asking.
Well, have you read the ebook from Christina?
Yes, that's yeah, I have that book, the two
It didn't
ebooks,
help
and
you?
I did it as she told me. I mean, she said on the ebook, and it was probably wrong because it was the first ebook where she made, errors and stuff like that. So that's, I don't know.
Anyone receive remedy?
Mm.
What was that
But
question?
For the Christina method, has anyone received remedy?
I actually just sent off my paperwork a couple of days ago, so they just received it as of yesterday. So now it's just a waiting game to see.
oh, for the borrow from yourself, I sent
Yeah.
mine like about 3 weeks ago,
How
but
much you do it
no,
Well,
for?
the 1040 or 1041.
I did
1041.
1041.
I did 1041 too.
Yeah, I did a 1041. I did mine for $1 million.
I
Wow.
did mine for 4.3.
4
You
point
said,
what millions?
Yeah.
Oh, I did mine for 250. I'm like, oh.
yeah, I did the 300. That's it.
I mean, I understood her take on it. And, obviously, like she said, you have to kind of move by what you're feeling. I mean, I'm not new. I've been in business this my 35th year. So, you know, there's different things that I know I would do. Um, so, I mean,
Yeah.
I have reasons for it, So.
Well, yeah. I mean, I did it for the acquisition of a property.
Mm.
Mine's
Yeah.
is a couple. We have a real estate investing business, which we've been doing it 10 years. And we have three businesses actually. So
Okay.
Which
So,
I
quick
I
question
my
about
phone.
the.
okay, Ken
Oh,
is back.
oh, he's
Ken
back.
got
Okay, I'll get the question in.
You guys got any more questions?
Yeah, I got a question.
Go.
Hello. All right, my question. My bad, y'all. My question is this, right?
Oh, you
Like, we
choppy.
doing all this. I'm sorry. We doing all this positioning for. Like, I want to know what the purpose for if we can't get no like money out this thing. I mean, I know I hear you say it ain't no liquidating this and that. You know what I'm saying? I don't think the purpose of this would be to liquidate anything. But the purpose of this doing this stuff, right, would be to get some money. I'm pretty sure people ain't just doing this to say, oh, I want to be this and I want to be that. Like how do we really focus on, you know, getting money? That's what I know. I mean, if
Financially
that means
free?
no, I ain't gonna say really so much financially free, but just get financing. I mean, I'm pretty sure we ain't doing all this stuff for show. Just say, oh, I got my foreign grant of trust. Oh, I got my private banker. How do we really function? Function with making something happen. I'm pretty sure everybody doing this to make a better position in their life. I
Absolutely.
think I'm asking the question right. So
No, I 100% understand what you're asking, and it's like the how they talk about it is like how do you monetize this?
yes,
Right.
yes, yes,
Okay,
that'd be
so the
addressed.
so the beginning, like when you get into this, most people get into this because they got a problem, right? Bankruptcy, or they're losing their house or their car or
Or we're
whatever, and they're
broke.
like, "Oh, I heard that I can get
Yeah,
some,
we broke. We broke.
yeah,
Put it like that. We broke. We ain't got enough, man. I'm
right."
tired of working.
Well, we're all broke.
Too
That's
too
the
much
thing.
too much month, not enough money.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the thing, is that there ain't, the wealth in this country is is consumed by 1% of the population. That means
understood.
99% of the population is broke,
Understood.
right? So it's like it's everybody's like trying to figure this out, because it's like the whole purpose of the trust is so that you're supposed to have a better quality of life. You took the gold and silver away, so we can't stack it. right? So, so like the whole purpose of this is that you're supposed to be able to, use it so that you can have a better quality of life. But there's just no clear path, and there's no clear path because in order for you to claim your title, you have to like get to a certain level in life, right? And when you figure this stuff out, you already know that people who have figured it out have gone out there and caused a bunch of trouble. I mean, you see all those sovereign citizens out there driving around with private plates, getting being assholes and getting arrested. Like, this is the problem, is that, like, is that who we want to be?
No, 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 no,
And
no, no.
so there, you have to understand that there has to be a give and take somewhere, right? There
Right.
has to be like somebody regulating, right?
Correct.
And what that is that when you're dealing with the IRS, that's what that is. They're the trustees. The IRS and the Treasury are the trustees that administer this trust. Okay, when you go to bankruptcy
Okay.
court, the prosecuting attorney is literally called the U.S. trustee. Okay,
Wow.
so this is like what that is that they have their checks and balances so that people are getting to a point in their life where they're responsible enough that what did they get? What are you going to do? Let's just say that you did some kind of bond and got $26 million. What are you going to do with it? Right? You're going to deposit that check if the IRS sends you a check for 26 million or billion or whatever, doesn't matter. What do you have a bank that's actually going to take it? And if they do take it, right, how long is it going to be before you can do something with it, and so on and so forth? So there's this whole list of things that has to be thought of when they are like, allowing people to be to the age of majority and be able to do some of this stuff.
Right.
Okay,
Now,
so
now I'm
what?
gonna tell you something. I respect that statement right there, because that's the stuff people don't talk about. Everybody say you can do this, 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 do this. Okay, then when you do it, then what? Why don't nobody talk about the what after? That's my question would be like, well, have you done it? I think when I first talked to you, I asked, how you living? That was like kind of like a question, like saying, well, what have you done? And things like that. And then another thing, like I've heard this, I heard like, people say, well, if you really crack the code, them people gonna come see you. Like if I've heard a true state story from a friend of mine. He put in some type of bond. I think he was following Yusuf L. Some years back, and he put in some type of bond. I want to say like $300 billion or whatever the case may be. And he said them people came and knocked at his door
Oh yeah.
and wanted to check him out, and like, look, okay, I guess you did whatever you did, and we want to make sure you ain't no terrorist or you ain't finna do nothing stupid and all that kind of stuff there.
Yeah.
And I guess they kind of asked him for a while, and seeing how he was living and how he was operating, and he
Yeah.
he pretty well off right now. Then I heard this. Like they say, well, if you crack the code, them people will come see you and tell you, hey, listen, okay, you did it. Now shut up, keep your mouth shut. If you don't, we gonna take you out. Straight, like no plan. Don't be
Well,
don't be
it
telling
depends.
nobody.
It depends.
Sir?
Like Pat. Okay, if you want to act like Pat fucking Divine and like cussing people out on videos and
Oh yeah,
getting all belligerent, yeah, you're probably probably end up in a pine box.
that's right.
Whether you got a real version of cancer or a fake version of cancer, like
That
it's
part, the fake
that,
version. Yeah, that's the
right.
we know
So,
what the fake
but
version
then
is.
there's other people that they're probably going to be like, hey, if you don't stop acting like an asshole, we're going to take it away. Right. And that's their prerogative. Right. So every time they open the borders and give everybody a social security number, they're just going to use them to barter off of, and they're not going to use you anymore. So there's this kind of a happy medium here where you got to learn to act right. You got to learn to be, a grown up, a responsible person. And when you get there, that's when it comes together for you. And
Right.
so now to ask you, to answer your question, how or does this happen? Yes, it does. Okay. There are people, I've met people that have gained access. I've met a lot of people that have said they followed Pat and they got access. But here's the thing that I'll also say is that when you do, Okay, I'm fairly confident that when you really like get down to this, that they're going to have you sign a non-compete, a non,
Right.
you know, a non-disclosure statement. So that's why you see like all these people like, you know, on the trail and then they just disappear. They didn't die. Okay,
True.
Yeah,
That's
they
you know,
true.
signed the
That's true
NDA.
now.
Yep.
That's
yeah, they're
true now.
private. They're
That's
private, and
true.
private is private. You commingle, like they say. You know, you get out of the system. All you got to do is do one thing in commerce, and you're back in. It's an unconscionable contract, right? And that contract is available at any time you want to get back in, right? So that's why you see all these people disappear. So does this work? Yes. Do I believe in all this stuff? 100%.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
do I think that it's just a shower of money? No. I mean, I've been on both sides of this. My family has been business owners, and I've had money, you know, and and it's not always a good thing, right? It's like
I agree.
sometimes it's just like money just does things, you know. So there's this kind of like thing is like, what are you going to do with it, right? What are you going to do with it? And are you just going to sit there and if you do get access of it, are you just going to sit there and stack cash, or are you going to like donate some money to the treasury? Are you going to donate some money to some Goodwills or whatever, you know? And that's the things you got to be thinking about is like what kind of person do I have to be or should I be in order for them to want to open this up to me?
Right, right, right.
Right?
Okay,
It's
one more
not.
thing. I got one more thing, and I'm
Go
gonna
ahead.
get out the way here. Sorry, y'all, for
Go ahead.
hogging it. I got a lot. I got a lot in me that need to come out. So bear with me. Now I've heard that okay, when you open up a trust, okay, that 999 number is like a access to supposed to be like some kind of credit limit that you have with the trust, and you're able to access that trust, I guess, through credits or whatever the case may be. Have you ever heard of anything like that, or how that's possible?
The only thing that the only thing that I will say is that um you can't do 100 million or more on a voucher.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
so
limit is 100 million. Yeah.
right, well, it's under 100 million, right? So as soon as you do 100 million, that's why they don't care if you do a 500 or $1 billion bond because they're like, we don't have a system where you can pull that out.
Okay, okay.
Right. So that's what I've heard. It's the all nines, yeah, but it's 999, whatever, 909, 99.
9 billion or something like that, all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Yeah.
Right. So
But you
the
can't you can't
important,
access credits from that. It's just in a reasonable amount, correct?
yeah, you can access credits as far as like that's why it's a good place to start to like doing some debt discharge and getting to know the 1099 process and things like that. And reading these forms, reading the IRS code, the IRS manual, and so that you understand what that form is for and not
Okay.
just blindly following somebody else. But yeah, that's what that's about, is about using it's about using your IRS credits,
So
you
what would
know.
you say is the proper way to discharge with using the cancellation or whatever? Like, is
I
it
would say
before if
that
it's with Mhm.
S30, it that seems like a good process. I think, like I was saying in the beginning of this, is the the GSA is just too time consuming for a small debt. Um, if it's something that I don't want their credit anymore, then I'm just gonna do a Moore's proof of claim and cease and desist, send it to them and forget they exist. If it's something that like I want to continue with, then you use the administrative process. If it's something like a car loan or a mortgage or something like that, then you get in a little deeper. I'm not going through all this trouble for $1,000. That it's just like anything under $1,000, I'm gonna try and handle, in where I'm at. But stuff like you're losing your house or whatever, or gonna lose a car, or you want to buy a car or whatever like that. That's what I think it's about. And um, they also talk about, I think it's Christina talks about this, about just starting with some small monthly bills, like a utility bill, and just get comfortable with the presentments and doing it, but like I was saying earlier in this too, that you got to get the money where you need it, and then you got to call and make sure that you have the credits. Until that happens, forget about the rest of it. You got to figure that part of it out.
Well, I got an $80,000 child support rears bill. I just talked to them today. The guy told me that it's connected to the court case. Even though my child's aunt is the obligated, she's the obligating party, but it's all connected to the court case.
Yep, and the court's got a bond, and then the bond has a fee, and you haven't paid the fee, and so that's where you're at. So
what's the best thing to do for that?
It's a court case, so I would say SF forms or the GSA package.
Okay.
But you got to figure out what the bonds are, and you got to find out how much they are, and then you got to claim them. The thing to how to do this properly is that the first thing you have to do is claim the debt. You have to acknowledge and accept whatever the debt is. Right? For example, I just got out of bankruptcy, and I had the IRS contact me about the debt that I have to settle for the company that I just closed. Right. And the first thing I said to him is, I'm not your typical guy that you're going to talk to. I am here to settle the debt. I acknowledge and accept this debt, this lien, this levy, and I am going to do whatever is within my power to settle it, to pay it. And he was like, thank you. I think everything will be okay. And that was like the first few sentences of my conversation with him. Right. So with your court case, the first thing, you just got to express the trust. You have to go in there and you have to tell them, you have to tell the judge, I am not here to fight with you. I am here to settle the debt. I'm the not secured party creditor. I am the beneficial title holder, and I'm here to settle all the accounts associated with the named party on the estate. And once you do that, then it puts everything in a different aspect, because then it's not about fighting. It's just about, what do I got to pay? And then you discharge it. You use the trust through, you got the trust, and then you got and then you have forms that you have to compile in order to connect that. Right. And so, in a court case, they're just waiting for you to get to the point where you can do that.
So what do you think about this process for that? Like, I heard somebody say you can do a 1099-A to supposedly pay the debt off, like with a trust, use the 1099-A, then turn around and claim the funds with a 1099-B, and then I guess recoup it with a 1041, something like that.
So the
B is for barter.
1099-A is an acquisition.
Right. B is for
That's what
barter.
it says, acquisition or abandonment of property.
Right.
Okay. So you have to, but you can't acquisition something you don't know what it is. Right. So yeah, you owe 80,000 in back child support, but that's not what the debt is.
Okay, I get you. The debt may be bigger than that, right?
Oh, it's a lot bigger than that. That's probably 10% of what is owed. So what you have to do is you have to get them to give you a true bill invoice to tell you what the debt is. And once you know what the debt is, then you know what the bond is. And then you can establish that. But that's what you got to do first, is you got to somehow figure out what that number is. And then you can acquisition it.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So you just gotta,
I'm done with
that process, but you gotta look, you gotta learn that. Like the how I would do that might not work for you. So you got to read the forms and figure out like what am I trying to do. But Google expressing the trust from Christian Walters, and start watching his stuff and reading his stuff on expressing the trust.
Yes, sir.
And
Flash
that's
is venom.
What was it? What was his name again?
Christian
Christian
Walters.
Walter.
Christian Walter. All right, thank you.
Yep.
New Trust Technology. What was it again? Uh,
Christian
something
Walter.
Trust Technology. Yeah, but it was Christian Walters, but he had like I used to go on his Skype calls, and he had something like something New Trust Technology or something Trust Technology, something like that.
Yeah. So
Yes, he called
he's
it
the one that kind of
NTT.
pioneered expressing the trust and all those bill of complaint and equity that you can download. You know, he wrote all those, and that's kind of his baby, is expressing the trust. So you got to know that. You know, here's the thing: in order to get true remedy in any of this stuff, you got to know equity. Okay, and there's a book out there. It's very long. It's like 1,800 pages. It's very old. It was written in the 1800s, and it's called Suits and Chancery. And it was,
Gibson. Oh,
yep,
yeah.
Henry Gibson. So all the videos, they have it all on video on YouTube. You can watch the audiobook or listen to the audiobook on YouTube. And that's what I do, because there's no way I can read an 1,800 page book. But so that's what I do. But that's what you got to start learning. If you really want to be a master at this, you need to learn equity. And equity says that you got to come with clean hands. Right. And I don't think a lot of people really know what that means when you say that. Okay. And what it means is that in equity, everybody has to be made whole. You know, in the way that the court system is set up right now, I mean, you got so many people making allegations, and nobody's really being made whole in the situation, because it's all about commerce and making money for the court system. So when you get into equity, like, let's just say that this person wronged me, and I want to, in equity, I want to get equitable relief, right? But you might go in front of a chancellor, and they might be the one that deserves relief, and you might lose, because equity is equal, right? So it's about the equality of everything and everybody. So that's where we working towards, in God's eyes, of being the perfect man or woman, is always striving for perfection, right? And that's what we do. We want to be a person that operates in equity. So anybody that's really interested in succeeding at this, I strongly recommend you read Suits and Chancery, or watch it, or listen to it, or whatever, because it's very and the other thing is, if you're creating a trust, especially a common law trust is the maxims of equity. It's governed by the maxims of equity, which are the laws of God, right? So if you're going to have an express trust or a foreign trust, you need to read the 20 rules of equity and understand what they all mean, because that's what that's about. That's what trust law is. Trust law is God's law, equity, absolute fairness.
I have a question. This goes back to one of the first things that you actually said. You said first you have to get free, then you can do bonds, then you call the IRS to ask about your credits. Well, I want to go to that first part of that. What does that mean to you, get free? What are the steps that are necessary to be free? So I'm trying to understand that part of that statement.
For me, what that means is to get a perfected title, which is a double authenticated birth certificate, and then do your UCC filings. And then there's some paperwork in there. And then do your banker and estate EIN and things like that. But it's just those beginning processes. On my members area of the website, it's actually numbered, 1 through 7 on how to get to that point. And then you have to send your contract trust package in. And then after you wait however many months, then you call in and just verify your credits are there. And that's when you get remedy, is when you do that.
Thank you. Succinctly put, that's the type of explanation answer I was looking for. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Thank you.
I
All
have
right, go
two more
ahead.
questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the first question um is about the 1041s. Because I did recently do the borrow from yourself process.
Mhm.
How many times can you do a 1041, or just, I wouldn't say that process, but yeah, like a 1041 in general. Is that only a once a year type thing?
Well, no, you can do an amendment. You can do a
Amendment.
1041X
Okay,
or a 1040X.
gotcha. Okay. And someone else can go because I forgot my second question, but I'm going to come back.
And just to answer also, I just recently did the 1041 for the borrow for yourself as well too. And what I noticed on there is there's actually a box on there that says, is this your initial return? Is it your final return? So I think you can, yes, do multiple per year.
Right, but you don't want to click final. A final estate return means that's the last one ever.
Yeah, that is my understanding too. Thank you.
So it would have to wind down.
Yeah, so that basically closes the EIN out.
Right.
Yeah, so you don't want to do that.
Okay, I remember the second question. Someone was asking earlier about the 1099A form. When he was talking about the child support. So would that work as well with like the mortgage? I mean, I'm trying to figure out what I need to do or put in place because I'm about 3 to 4 weeks away from foreclosure. So I'm trying to figure out what I need to do at this point in my journey to prevent
The
that.
1099A is just an acquisition. All you're doing is telling the IRS that you accept the debt. It doesn't do anything. It's not a check. You can't monetize it. You can't buy a house. You can't discharge debt with it. Like, that's not what that's meant for. That it's meant to acquisition or abandon something. So it's not the 1099 process is not a good process, especially if you're looking at foreclosure in 3 weeks. You know,
Okay,
so the 1099 stuff is just about reporting. And then a 1040 or a 1041 is your claim. Right? That's your claim of, debts and credits. So like those things aren't your tools to like deal with a mortgage, right? The best things to deal with a mortgage is either a GSA bonds or the SF30 modification of contract.
But that takes more than 30 days.
Well, it can. I mean, I did my GSAs in a week.
Oh, okay.
And I sent them next day, express to the GSA. And as soon as I got the verification of delivery, then I sent that package to the court with the verification of delivery. I have a whole process that I do with people on that. So, if you,
okay, so just to confirm, you mentioned GSA and the SF forms for, I guess, supposedly stopping my foreclosure, maybe?
right. Yeah, and that's what they're for, is because your installment agreement is your contract. So then you use an SF30 to modify that.
Okay.
Just the FS30 or all of them?
Well,
FS30 only?
there's a bunch of them.
Okay.
There's
No,
a
but I'm
bunch of different. I mean, it just depends on what you're doing on which forms you use, and that's where it can get a little complicated, and that's why I provide the service, is because it gets a little overwhelming, especially when you're thinking about losing your house, to like figure out all this stuff. So we try and but it's like I said, it's time consuming.
Thank you.
So let me know if you need help.
Will
Okay,
it be
thanks.
also for a car, like a car, so you don't get
Yeah, it's the
repossessed?
same because it's a promissory note that you gave them,
Right. Okay.
and then they
so
lease.
it'll be the same process.
Yep, it's basically the same process. Yeah.
Okay.
And just to confirm, as far as like my mortgage is concerned, the SF30 specifically for that?
Yeah, there's you can use the GSA too.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna look into all of that. I was just wanting to know to be
Yeah,
sure.
they're all SF forms. It just depends where you send it. Like the modification of contract you send to the Treasury, but the GSA stuff you send to the GSA. But
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, if you're trying to discharge $100,000 or $150,000 house versus, you know, the GSA stuff is tens of millions in contracts. So it just kind of depends what you're trying to do and what the, you know, the value.
And
of
see,
it.
yeah, the value for is about 150,000. So that would, I guess, be better with an SF30 form.
Yeah, I would probably start there. I mean, if they don't take it, then go to the
Yeah.
GSA.
Yeah, right. Okay. I'll still probably reach out to you for your services.
Yeah, let me know.
All right, great. Thanks.
I have a car loan, and you provide the services for that too, right, Ken?
Yep.
And meanwhile, like you help me discharge of that. I still make a monthly payment to the car.
Yeah, you can still make monthly payments and then discharge
Okay.
it.
Okay. So I'm gonna call you later on that one too.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
All right, we've been at this for a little while, so I'm going to end this so that I can edit the video and get it up for everybody. Thanks for coming, and thanks for all the great questions. That's what really keeps us alive is when we engage with each other like this. So thanks for coming, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Have a good night.
Ken.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Yep.
Have a good one.
Yep.
Bye,
Bye.
Ken.
Is over with.
Yeah.